The more time you spend in the West, the longer you live here, the more you begin to understand the centrality of the importance of water. Everything else flows from it and is linked to it in some way because it is the most important resource and it is the most finite resource. And one of the reasons for that is because we have built an entire civilization here in the Southwest that is unsustainable. It is built on a set of infrastructure that is designed to deliver water that will not be available in the future.
I would say one of the biggest challenges with the Colorado River and Colorado River Basin and with fresh water is indifference. And we've engineered our way into a problem that is going to take it's going to take public engagement to get out of it, in my opinion.
The Colorado River stretches nearly 1,500 miles through 7 western states, from the Rocky Mountains' highest peaks all the way to Mexico's Sea of Cortez. It is a lifeline, supplying water to more than 40 million people and providing critical irrigation to some of the United States' most productive farmland. Photographer and filmmaker Pete McBride is a conservationist authority on the river and the modern-day water challenges facing the American West. Using his gift for storytelling, Pete has become a champion for the Colorado River, as well as the communities and ecosystems that are so inextricably linked to it.
Pete and I go back quite a ways. We worked together for a number of years back in the early 2000s on a series of magazine assignments that involved traveling to some, what to us were fairly exotic parts of the world, Everest Base Camp, Horn of Africa, and had a series of misadventures together over the course of those assignments, which left me with a distinct impression that Pete was an incredibly bad person to work with.
I wrote a college thesis about public land grazing, and I had a hard time finding accurate sources and people that were up on point on it. And the only place that did it was a little newspaper called High Country News. So after college, I applied to be an intern there, and I started out in Paonia, Colorado. And one story I did for them, just a little short deal on branding cattle, and I took photographs of it, and they were more enamored with my photographs than my essay. And I think that's where it started, and it took a few years and working at a bunch of different jobs and projects, and I kind of kept coming back to trying to tell, whatever I was doing, I was trying to use my camera and words to tell stories. Well, that had a tough life. That was me falling off a ledge somewhere in Marble Canyon. This camera is, I think, the only functioning camera that's not broken in this camera graveyard. And that lens, this lens may be broken, but these one lens, one body did my entire feature-length film, entire book on the Grand Canyon. 750.
Storytelling is kind of weird as human beings. We tend to frame an understanding of the world through storytelling. We are storytelling animals. This is the one thing that unites us all and that goes further back than anything else.
This book is basically a photo essay of what the Grand Canyon looks like between the river and the rim. Walked 750
I think a lot of conservationists unfortunately have a tendency to lecture, to sort of mansplain everything and make it, clear, because these are very complicated issues and they're very important issues. But we obviously have to have a sense of humor, and Pete brings that warmth and that kind of a sense of joy to his work. So it's very important stuff he's talking about and very important stuff that he's photographing, but he's going to have a good time along the way.
Not the best place to change a lens, but gotta get the right tool. Good Lord. You're gonna like this view if you come out here. This is essentially one of the tributaries that's the headwaters to the Colorado River, and it's completely covered by debris from this avalanche that came in this last year, and it's unusual. It's an unusually big avalanche. These are young aspens that have folded over. There's aspens here that are roughly 50 years old that snapped like matchsticks, and on the other side you can see.
I mean, this is another, deeply problematic aspect of my friendship and partnership with Pete. And it's hard for me to admit as a writer. I'm a person of words. There is a unique power that images have that words do not. Images have the ability to move and leverage people towards action, and also to create a moment of kind of instantaneous understanding.
I think there are a lot of photographers who are perfectly content to sit back and wait for a beautiful picture, and it's almost a passive aesthetic process for them. And in Pete's case, he's got to go after the story. The more effort, the better for him. I think he's got a kind of insane, almost sadomasochistic streak in him. He's willing to suffer profoundly to get that great image. And he does it time and time and time again, whether he's on the Ganges River or in the Colorado or elsewhere. No one will ever fault Pete McBride for being lazy.
Pete and Kevin's successful trek of the entire length of the Grand Canyon has been memorialized into a wildly successful book and film.
In 8 hours, I counted 363 helicopters. And that was just an average Tuesday. This happens 7 days a week, all year long.
With National Geographic as a partner, large audiences are learning about the myriad of challenges facing the Grand Canyon. But perhaps even more importantly, Pete's stories are engaging and educating new audiences, transforming these people into advocates for the Colorado River, wild places, and responsible water use in the West.
Thank you, guys. Western Grand Canyon is so remote and so vast. I've heard people just say that it is more wild than parts of Alaska. These are actual rangers that work in the canyon that used to work in Alaska. And it's right in our backyard. And as we pass these places from one generation to the next, that is one of the great things we're losing. And it is, of course, the centennial Grand Canyon National Park this year, 2019. And so I think the question in the backbone of the film is the question that how is this going to look in 100 years? Because ultimately it's your park.